Welcome back to the library. Today we are continuing my video book report on Brave New World. As I got to the middle of the book, there were some chapters where I didn't have anything new to talk about, so some of these next videos will just be a combination of a few chapters. Chapter 7, I didn't have anything new to say. So, Chapter 8, I found a quote that says, "A man can smile and be a villain." I've always found it creepy when I see someone who appears to be perfect in all outer appearances. Perfect on paper is another way to say it. They've done all the right things in life to get where they are, it seems. They're always saying the right things, it seems. And they're beloved by society. Maybe. I find it creepy because I know that human nature is not perfect. I always feel like the perfect person is hiding something, some ugly truth that they don't dare say out loud. Now, that's not to say people can't have their privacy. Surely, I value privacy, and I agree that some things are none of anyone else's business. What I'm talking about here is those people who seem to always have it together because they don't value vulnerability. Those who seem to have never made a mistake in their entire lives just make me feel like they've been lying to everyone. Like they're good at covering shit up, they're good at smiling on the surface while being a completely different person behind the scenes. Maybe they're not all villains behind their smiles, but they're definitely all fake. A genuine person does value vulnerability and is okay with sharing some of that with people. Genuine people know that it's not always about smiling or looking good or having the right optics. Genuine people know that people make mistakes. They know that they themselves make mistakes even when people are watching. They know mistakes are often the keys to learning and actually becoming better people. Doing things for the camera like virtue signaling with face diapers when you know you're being taped while not actually caring about the face diapers in the first place is a good example of what I'm talking about. The face diaper advocates who made the rules back in the day that everyone had to wear them or face the consequences never believed in their own rules. Remember Nancy Pelosi's hypocritical behavior in 2020?
Nancy Pelosi is under fire today after surveillance video shows her at a hair salon getting a blowout and not wearing a face mask.
The optics don't look good. There needs to be a whole lot of explanation.
It's terrible. Nancy Pelosi is a hypocrite.
The most powerful woman in America can be seen with wet hair inside a salon in San Francisco. Problem is, under California COVID-19 regulations, clients cannot be serviced indoors. All blowouts, dye jobs, and styling must be conducted outdoors, like this.
The owner of the salon, Emil, says to get by during the pandemic, she rents out chairs in her salon to several independent stylists. On Sunday night, one of those stylists texted her to say that Nancy Pelosi was coming in for a blowout. After the appointment was over, she checked the security footage and was not happy with what she saw.
It was a slap in the face that she went in, that she feels that she can just go and get her stuff done while no one else can go in and I can't work, Kies tells Fox News. It is just disturbing.
She went to a salon in San Francisco without a face diaper on, after California had set rules that all salon appointments had to be carried out outdoors with face diapers on. Then she claimed that she'd been set up.
She appeared on MSNBC with perfectly coiffed hair. Late today, an annoyed Pelosi spoke to reporters.
I take responsibility for trusting the word of a neighborhood salon that I've been to over the years many times, and that when they said, well, we're able to accommodate people one person at a time, and that we can set up that time, I trusted that. As it turns out, it was a setup, so I take responsibility for falling for a setup. Now, I just have my hair washed. I don't wear a mask when I'm washing my hair.
trying to claim innocence about the whole thing because she is the type of person who only cares about optics, while at the same time not understanding that if she just stopped being a hypocrite all the damn time, she wouldn't have to worry about her optics. The good behavior would speak for itself. A kinder person would have gotten rid of the face diaper rule because it wasn't doing anything anyway, but a tyrant will keep the rule while also keeping the double standard. That's why the tyrants who push for face diapers only make sure they're wearing them when they have photo shoots, so they can push the narrative that face diapers are necessary for everyone. The second the cameras are off, or the second they think there's no one watching, as is the case with Nancy Pelosi, they don't follow their own rule. Chapter 9 has no new ideas that I want to discuss. So on to Chapter 10. The director went suddenly pale, stopped struggling, and stood, his hands on her wrist, staring down at her, horrified. Yes, a baby, and I was its mother. She flung the obscenity like a challenge into the outraged silence. I don't really understand this disgust for the word mother. I understand it in fictional works of art like this book because the society doesn't want connection, which humanizes people. Connection keeps humans healthy, fulfilled, and satisfied. Having a mother would mean they couldn't treat people like machines or test subjects. I don't understand it in real life, such as the way the Democrats don't like the word mother and changed it to birthing person in their documents. They claim it's because they want the language to be inclusive, but the saner among our society know that some of the people in charge don't like the idea of nuclear families. So that is their actual reason for taking the word mother out of language. If we start teaching people that mothers are not a concept that is to be understood, they're hoping that eventually the government can raise humans and brainwash them into the adults they want them to be, just like what Aldous Huxley wrote in this book. I also think they're trying to teach people to hate life. If you have a loving mother, you probably won't hate your life, so the evil has to take that away from us. If you don't have a loving mother, you might have a loving maternal figure whom you see as a mother. Whatever the case, the point still remains that having mothers or a motherly figure is a very important part of a person's development. Chapter 11. Most of our girls are free martins, of course. I'm a free martin myself. She smiled at Bernard. But we have about 800 unsterilized ones who need constant drilling. A free martin in the book refers to a person who was designed to be sterile. These people are not absent of sex despite being unable to reproduce. In the book, Huxley mentions that the free martins still have a sex, and he refers to some of them as girls. This reminds me of that argument I hear sometimes from people who claim they can't define the word woman.
I don't know what the that was.
They say, what if a woman can't reproduce? You say a woman is someone with female reproductive organs, but what if the person doesn't have those because of a hysterectomy? Can you still call them a woman? The people who use this argument think they're so sly when they use it, because they think it's some kind of gotcha moment. In reality, their argument is stupid and rude. Because of course you can still call a woman who's had a hysterectomy a woman. The same can be said of a woman who's had a mastectomy. She's still a woman, she just had to have a surgery. Usually, hysterectomies and mastectomies are done as life-saving surgeries because of some sort of complication. I'm betting these women who have had these surgeries would be especially offended by the argument from the people claiming they're no longer women, as they should be, because it's an offensive thing to consider or even suggest. Can you imagine them telling a woman who's had a surgery like that, "Excuse me, you're not a woman anymore because you don't have a uterus"? The woman they said that to would give them the longest, heaviest looks can kill death glare in the entire universe. You know what? Maybe these people who ask this stupid asinine question should ask it to one of those women, because the death glare would melt their little snowflake hearts into a puddle of tears. But of course they won't, because they know they're full of shit and they absolutely know what a woman is. They're just following their dumb religion. "Do they read Shakespeare?" asked the savage. "Certainly not," said the headmistress, blushing. "Our library," said Dr. Gaffney, "contains only books of reference." This reminds me of leftists and their pre-approved list of things they are arbitrarily allowed to read because their overlord told them they could. If they see something written by a conservative, or even just someone who mildly opposes them, they have a hissy fit and demand the book be banned, or they highly recommend that the book not be interacted with because they can't possibly have people gaining different perspectives. I'm here to say that just because you read a book from someone who's not on your side of the political aisle, it doesn't mean that you will join the other side. As if the book has some magical power that sucks you into it. I'm also here to say, so what? If you happen to read something and you agree with a few points you might not have thought you did, there's nothing wrong with that either. Yet the left acts like that's the end of their world. Association is all that matters to them. Sometimes I read stuff that's by woke authors just to see what they're saying, straight from their minds, not stuff the legacy media tells me they're saying. The legacy media is biased towards anyone who buys into woke ideology, so they'll always speak of them favorably even when they're saying unfavorable things. I recently read a book by a pastor who claims he's Lutheran, but he's really a critical race theory pastor because CRT is a religion in itself. He's writing about making churches anti-racist because he thinks that will cure racism. But just because I'm reading that doesn't mean I agree with CRT. I still think it's a pile of racist garbage. I will always think it's crazy racist trash, and this pastor's perspective is just reinforcing that fact. Sometimes reading things from the other side will reinforce your own beliefs. Other times it will give you a new perspective, if they have anything truthful or sane to talk about. John, a character from the book, was born on the Savage Reservation, and his mother is the woman who had gone missing when she went to New Mexico on a trip with the director. And obviously by the book I mean Brave New World. The Savage Reservation is a place the civilized world deemed unnecessary for civilization because it didn't have the resources civilization needed. Bernard and Lenina went on a trip to New Mexico and ran into John and his mother. After their trip was over, John's mother, Linda, begged to be brought back to London, which is where civilization is, and John went along with them. It interested me that the supposedly civilized world calls John the savage. Now, I understand why in the book, considering there were two very distinct locations, but it also raises the question of, if you're civilized, wouldn't you know that it is impolite to refer to other people with derogatory terms? I think it just means that the civilized people are actually entitled, narcissistic people. And they think that because they live in the civilized world, it gives them the right to call other people derogatory names. It makes me think of how the woke reduce everyone to a base identity they've deemed correct for them, like Latinx. And yes, I know that's not the way to pronounce it, but I'm saying it that way because I want to. The Latin people already had words for themselves that they are perfectly happy using because it's their language to say Latina and Latino. Their language has different pronunciation for words when referring to a man or woman, and they're okay with that. The only people who are not okay with gendered language are the woke. The woke are the only ones who give a shit about whether language is gender neutral or not. No one else cares. The woke made up the word Latinx, which is why I purposely pronounce it wrong because I don't respect woke words. Then demanded that the Latin people call themselves that. They've colonized the Spanish language by doing this, while at the same time complaining about colonization. Incredibly rude. How dare you? That concludes my thoughts on chapters 7 through 11. See you on the next video.